Howdy, folks. Welcome to the channel Rockin' the Country. I'm Don. I have a gift request. This is a four-parter, a documentary series on Dottie Rambo. And it's a gift request of Renee Mooberry's. Renee made a gift for me. It's a 60 or 62-minute special. So I'm breaking it down into 4 parts. So Renee made the equivalent of 4 gifts for me to do this. So thank you for this, Renee. And I'm so curious to see this. I love learning about people and seeing different aspects of the music business and people's lives and how they started and things that the dynamic of life that impacted their careers and so on. So this is what Renee said. Hey, Don, just wanted to let you know that Gary Chapman is featured throughout this video as he was the lead guitarist for the Rambos in the 1970s. Gary is the former husband of Amy Grant. Now, Amy Grant is now married to Vince Gill. She's a Christian artist. Gary Chapman is a much decorated Christian artist, too. I thought you might want to know the connection. Thanks so much for accepting this request, even though you typically don't react to this type. That's what Renee said. Yeah, it's not that I'm opposed to doing religious or theologically oriented or Christian-oriented music in any way. It's that, traditional country, sort of that's its own genre, but the Christian theme is throughout. You listen to Dolly's music, Johnny Cash, you just listen to these folks and talk of heaven, a future life, a better life, living a better life, living a moral life. All of that is tied directly into the Judeo-Christian tradition and history that we have here. So let's get into this, Renee, shall we? Here we go.
More than the music, it's a story behind the song.
Gospel music. It's more than just a style of singing. In fact, for some people, it's a way of life. Hi, I'm Charlie Daniels, and I'm the host of a new series that's guaranteed to lift the spirits of anyone who sees it. It's more than the music.
All right, Charlie.
Well, I heard the sound of angels coming across the distant hills.
It's a little like Loretta.
Calling me away.
Only one person in history has had the honor of being named Songwriter of the Century by the Christian Country Music Association, and that person is Dottie Rambo.
So I made my reservation for my final destination. I'm changing my location to my mansion in the sky. Gonna wear me some new clothes like a shiny white rose. Walking around in new shoes, get ready to move.
You may not need the shoes.
Artists as diverse as Dolly Parton, Whitney Houston, Johnny Cash, and Elvis Presley have performed her songs and sung her praises. She's written tunes for a variety of genres and styles, including pop, country, and uplifting praise music. But what Dottie Rambo is most famous for is what she calls her valley songs. Tunes that describe in vivid detail the pain that life can bring and the healing God gives to the broken people who trust in Him.
Yeah, and I guess if my heart were a window that every one of you could stand and look through, oh, the pain and scars you would see.
Yeah, it's true of everybody.
But tears will never stay the streets of that city. Memories of death on my mansion door.
Millions of people have found comfort in these soulful tunes, but what most folks don't know is that their words contain a secret. Hidden within the verses of Dottie Rambo's songs is the heart-wrenching and ultimately uplifting life story of the greatest songwriter gospel music's ever known. The name Dottie Rambo is synonymous with gospel music. But when the woman behind the legend was born back in 1934, she was just plain old Joyce Reba Luttrell. Somewhere along the way, her mama, a good Christian woman named Elizabeth, took to calling her daughter Dottie, and the name stuck. Raised near a creek in Kentucky, Dottie loved to dangle her feet in the water and sing.
Kentucky.
There on the banks of the stream, when Dottie was just 8 years old, something unusual happened.
I didn't yet know the Lord and wasn't a Christian, but being around my grandfather that was a preacher inspired me so much, and I would always get this wonderful feeling when he'd pray. So I sensed that same feeling sitting in the creek, just had water all over me, and something just happened, and a song just started coming forth, and I had nothing, no paper, nothing, didn't play the guitar yet, but I did a complete song, finished it.
Wow.
Little Dottie was so excited about what had just happened that she ran home and sang the song for her mama.
So I started singing it to her, and she said, "Now, honey, are you sure you wrote that?" "Yes, ma'am." She said, "You didn't copy that out of somebody's book, did you?" I said, "No, ma'am." And when she realized that I really had written it, she grabbed me and hugged me, pulled me close to her, and said, "Darling, you'll pay a great price for that gift." I did not know what she meant, but from that day on, the songs would come.
The gift, as Dottie refers to it, came like a bolt from the blue and brought joy into the heart of her Bible-believing mother. But the effect it had on her father, Vernon Luttrell, would be entirely different.
Mother was a great Christian lady, a great mother, and a good wife, but she wasn't appreciated, and Dad was an alcoholic, and he was abusive physically to her and mentally to me, and especially my brother Eddie, who's my buddy.
The last thing Dottie's father wanted was a daughter singing gospel music in his own home. So to keep the peace, Dottie, who wasn't yet a Christian, decided to use her songwriting talent to create something her father could enjoy: country music.
Now, I wonder if Dottie's grandfather, who was the preacher, was her father's father or her mother's father. Odds on it's the mother's father, but who knows? Maybe, I don't know, anything could happen in life.
And as it turns out, she was pretty good at it.
By the time I was about almost 11, I was already playing in a little Western country band on the radio on Saturday and singing country music.
Wow.
Because I loved it. And Mother would let me go to the fairs or different things where the band would be playing, but not where they were drinking or things like that. She wouldn't allow that.
Country music gave Dottie her first taste of show business. But when she accepted the Lord at the age of 12, she felt something change inside her. Dottie's heart was filled with songs of praise for God, so much so that she couldn't help but sing about it.
Dottie and her father were very close, and she would go on hunting trips with him, and they would sing country songs and entertain his friends and all of that. But then when she got saved, he was so furious that she didn't want to do the country stuff anymore. It wasn't that she thought it was wrong, it was just she was more into singing gospel and writing gospel songs. And he got real abusive to her, and he just felt that she was an embarrassment more than anything else.
Dottie's new style of singing brought such a sense of conviction to her father that he gave her a choice. It was either him or God. And if she chose to follow the Lord, she'd be forced to leave home.
Damn.
I've got an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I can't imagine me giving them an ultimatum on anything that would involve those severe consequences. But to say it about, your relationship with Christ, it's unimaginable to me, and I can't begin to dream how much that hurt, and at the same time how much that shaped who she became.
Dottie knew she had to follow the Lord, and so she packed her bags. Her destination was Indianapolis.
Why does this theme sound familiar? Somebody will let me know. This theme sounds familiar. Did we discuss this somewhere on the channel in another video? Not of Dottie's per se, but this theme sounds familiar, of her needing to make this decision, her father kicking her out. She went to Indianapolis.
Dottie's mother had arranged for her to stay with a pastor and his family while she sang and preached at a revival meeting there. After that, Dottie would have to make her own way as a traveling gospel singer.
Yeah.
Not a comforting thought for her mother, but somehow she believed it was for the best.
Mother,
'cause the father's abusive.
I think, was relieved when I left home because she didn't want Dad to treat me like that. And leaving to me was freedom, you know.
When she had to leave home, her mother and her walked 7 miles to the Greyhound bus station.
Wow.
And she had made a little tag for Dottie out of cardboard and a little cheap chain and wrapped it around Dottie's neck and started crying. She said, "I'm going to worry God to death over you."
Dottie's life had taken an unexpected and frightening turn. At just 12 years old, she'd been rejected by her father and cast out into the cold. For Dottie, it was pretty tough to take. But she knew her heavenly Father would never forsake her, and she believed God had a plan.
One of the big ironies of being a songwriter, and it's a sad but beautiful reality that the best songs come out of the worst situations.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's true in my life. You know, the songs that I've written when I was at, you know, the most difficult and most painful places in my life, death of a friend, you know, death of a marriage, whatever. Those are the ones that have tremendous value.
Over and over again, God has taken the tragedies in Dottie's life and turned them into songs that speak to the hurting people of this world. It's a trend that began when Dottie first left home.
When Dottie left and went to Indianapolis, and from that spurred all these other church days where she was going and ministering to as a 12-year-old girl in all these churches. People just could not believe how a child could come up and step on that pulpit and say the things she said. They could not believe a young person at 12 years old could have such an amazing gift and touch so many people, not just teenagers, but older people.
From that first outing, Dottie blossomed into an itinerant preacher in her own right. She wrote songs and sang them for congregations throughout the South. Word soon spread about the young female prodigy, and soon enough, Dottie's future husband, Buck Rambo, came to hear her preach and sing.
Well, Dottie was leading the music in a revival with Brother Jimmy Russell, and this was Buck Rambo's family's church. And so Buck had came this night of the revival, and in his words, he said he had never seen a young person to have such a heavy anointing. And I think in that part of the country where you didn't have anything, to see somebody that was dressed up and pretty and leading services and playing an electric guitar, and that era, I think that really floored him. So he had asked a cousin of his to set them up on a date. And Dottie said, "No, I can't go out on a date with you because you're not a Christian."
But Buck Rambo didn't give up on Dottie that easily. For several nights in a row, he came to the revival and listened to her preach, and somehow the things she said started to sink in.
Later, in that same revival, he came down and made a profession of faith. And so Dottie then, she thought that was pretty interesting. And from that, they went out on a group date and went and got a Coke. And that's how they met and got started.
The couple didn't date long before Buck decided he was ready for marriage. Dottie, however, wasn't so sure.
I often wondered how I could ever even have a relationship with a man, because Dad was never an example to me as a man. So I didn't know how to expect a man to treat me right,
Yeah.
But I was encouraged by the big family, the Rambos, and they talked about everything, and they all got along good, and there was none of them had ever been divorced, and his parents were the most precious things. And I watched their lives a lot, and that, had a lot to do with helping me.
The stable, happy home life of Buck's family was something Dottie had never experienced before, and she wanted it more than anything. So in spite of her misgivings about her relationship with Buck, Dottie agreed to the wedding. At just 16 years old, Dottie committed herself to a life with Buck Rambo.
You married young.
She couldn't know it then, but their marriage would set the stage for the formation of one of gospel music's most successful groups. Within a year and a half of their marriage, Dottie and Buck started a family. The birth of their only daughter, Reba, was a joyous occasion, but it was also bittersweet. Difficulties in childbirth meant that Dottie couldn't have any more children, but as it turned out, Reba would be all the Rambos needed. As the little girl grew, she couldn't help but absorb the wonderful sounds of music that were always present in the Rambos' home. And we're not talking about tunes being played on the radio. This was live music by talented musicians who always seemed to be popping in to pick a tune with Dottie and Buck.
In our house, it was a perpetual jam session. You know, Mom was playing the guitar, Dad guitar. Somebody had an accordion. Some uncle had a violin. It was a house filled with music. And Mother always had a song. I mean, she made up songs. She'd be making biscuits and making up a song about making biscuits. So my whole life, it was just as natural as could be to write a song about everything.
There was no doubt in Dottie's mind that God wanted her to use the gift of songwriting to serve Him. And so when Reba was just a few years old, Buck and Dottie decided to form a singing trio called the Gospel Echoes. It consisted of Dottie, Buck, and a woman from their church named Judy Russell. Over the next decade, Judy Russell would leave the group and her spot would be filled by a number of other singers. During this time, the Gospel Echoes recorded 4 albums filled with Dottie's amazing songs. And slowly but surely, their fan base began to grow.
Their whole group basically depended on her extraordinary talent of writing songs, and it kept them in the forefront of gospel music. And not only their group, but a lot of groups depended on Dottie Rambo's talent of writing songs.
You know, I think Dottie will go down in history as being one of the better songwriters ever in any genre. I think the influence that she's had, I know on the songwriters, my contemporaries, is huge.
And I hope my mansion sits right next to God's throne. Oh, build my mansion next door to Jesus.
Her songs, because they speak to the heart, they have a simple way of going straight to the heart. She crosses every boundary. There is no boundary to her. I don't know. You could do her songs reggae. You can do them opera. There's no limit.
Just so my mansion sits near the throne.
Dottie's songs were touching people's hearts and bringing plenty of attention to her gospel trio. But there was a dark side to the Gospel Echoes' first taste of success. As Dottie's singing and songwriting abilities took center stage, Buck found himself completely overshadowed by his wife's talent.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Episode 1. Oh, the intrigue builds. Buck didn't like, he was being overshadowed. We're going to find out what happens there. Obviously, there's a divorce. I'm pretty sure of that because she was married to Gary Chapman at some point. So we're going to find out, I think, how everything went. But when you've got the brutal upbringing in life that she had, coupled with the joy that she anticipates, if heaven plays out the way the New Testament says it does, then, we're streets lined, as it were, with clear gold and no pain, sorrow, tears, or death. And you're willing to write about all of it and include it in there. Like Sarah Groves is, I'm not a fan of Christian music by and large, not because of the themes, just because of the way it's written for the most part, of the instrumentation. It's just not my thing. But Sarah Groves and Mahalia Jackson are 2 artists that even when I was deep into fundamentalist Christianity for probably 15 years, back right after college and in my marriage. Mahalia Jackson and Sarah Groves just spoke of very real things and just penetrated deep into the soul, and mine anyway. And they were authentic. Sarah Groves especially, because she spoke of doubts that she had of faith. And in Christian circles, by and large, you're not allowed to talk about doubts, having any doubts whatsoever. But at least not in the circles I ran in. You had to be all in, 100%. If you had 0.1% of a question or something like, what does that verse mean? You could be shunned for that. It was that. And I was like, well, that's not me. I need freedom of thought. I need freedom of humanity. And then we can discuss stuff and figure out what makes sense, what doesn't, and all that. And Sarah Groves did that. Now, I don't know Dottie Rambo's stuff, but I do know that when you're willing to write about the chasm between the horse crap of life, the brutality, the difficult things, and then you're also looking forward to a much better future, you could talk about the present in very different ways. So I'm looking forward to part 2, Renee. We're going to see where this thing goes. Songwriter of the century. That's quite an accolade. All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you again, Renee. I'll see you on the next one, and keep rocking the country.
I guess if my heart were a window that every one of you could stand and look through, oh, the pain and scars you would see.